In this lecture, we're going to look at Chinese grammar. Now, it's going to be a long lecture, so we're going to divide it into sections. The first section is parts of speech. Then we're going to look at aspect, then at verb particles, and then other sentence patterns. Now, as you teach Chinese grammar, you'll find that some students just love the Chinese grammar. They're the more analytical students, where others are not so interested in learning the grammar rules. They like to go by feel, whether it feels right or not. Now, when it comes to teaching grammar, what we need to do is first state the rule. You take time words, say in Chinese it's subject, time word, verb, object. Then next we need to contrast it with English. In Chinese it's subject, time word, verb, object, whereas in English the time word comes after the verb. Then, is there anything else worth noting about the grammar point? And then finally, the practice, you need to practice the difficult to grasp bits. What does that mean? Well, we need to be clear on where the difficulty lies, as this will determine the types of grammar exercises you will need for practicing. For instance, if it's to do with the position in the sentence, compared to English, for instance, time words and prepositions, then you need to use substitution drills so they get used to putting the word in the correct position in Chinese. However, if the difference is that Chinese distinguishes something but English doesn't, like 可以, 能, and 会 all mean can in English, or 在, 才, 就 can all mean then in English, then it's often helpful to have sentences where they fill in the blank with the correct word. And then if it's something, a new concept, such as resultative verb endings, then pictures are often helpful so they can see it being used. All right, let's start off with linking verbs. Linking verbs link two nouns or pronouns, and the most common one is the verb to be. 他是老师吗? Is he a teacher? Two other common linking verbs are 姓, to be surnamed, 我姓石, my surname is 石, and 叫, to be named, 我叫石明理, I am called 石明理. And so the verb to be, 姓, 叫 are the three common surnames. The three common linking verbs. Now, how can we practice it? Well, we can use pictures. For instance, we can ask 他姓什么 or 他姓陈. In the middle, 他是英国人吗? 不是英国人. 是英国人. 他是英国人吗? 不是英国人. 他姓什么? 他姓林. 他叫什么名字? 他叫林国光. And so using pictures very simply to practice 是, 姓, and 叫. Then what's helpful is if you prepare name cards, maybe one for the student and one for yourself, the teacher, and exchange them with the student. The teacher, Li Qiang, 中国人, 老师, and the student, 石明理, 英国人, student. And you can exchange saying, 你姓什么? 你叫什么名字? 你是学生吗? 你是英国人吗? That's a helpful way of practicing linking verbs. Next, let's move on to adjectives, which we can call descriptive verbs. Let's just first look at a grammar clip. Let me see if I can find it. Should be right here. Lesson 5, we learn about stative verbs or Chinese adjectives. And one thing we need to note is that Chinese adjectives must have an adverb preceding them. And if there's no other appropriate adverb, then Chinese people use hen, although it may not necessarily have a strong meaning very. But note the one exception. When no adverb appears, it implies comparison. So if I said 这本书很旧, this book is old, there's no comparison implied. But if I said 这本书旧, it implies this book is old and this book is therefore new. Okay, let's go and get the next one ready so we can move straight on to it. Come on. Yes, there we are. All right, let's go back to the PowerPoint and continue to look at adjectives. And so the key point to tell your student about is that is, the verb to be, is embedded in the Chinese adjective. And so the sentence, 他很高吗? Is he tall? Often you find students say, 他是很高, but you have to tell them, no, you don't need the verb to be, it's already embedded in the adjective. So he is tall, 他很高, and 高学生, tall students. And therefore we need to also point out to them that Chinese adjectives in their positive form require an adverb to follow them. And if there's no other appropriate adverb, like 非常 or whatever it is, then Chinese people use hen. So firstly, we need to point out Chinese adjectives require an adverb, but when it's hen, it doesn't necessarily mean very. 他很高 doesn't necessarily mean he is very tall. It normally means he is tall. And so hen really loses its meaning. And so the other thing is, just pointed out just then, is that when no adverb is used, it's one of comparison. 这本书好, meaning this book is a good one, and therefore implying this one is not so good. Or 这本书贵 implies this book is an expensive one, and therefore this one isn't so expensive. So when there's no adverb used, then it's one of comparison. Now, how can we practice adjectives? Well, again, using pictures. The one on the top on the left. 这些杯子都很贵. And you go down and pointing to the little one. 这个杯子便宜, implying the other cup is not cheap. Or here, 这些书都很便宜. Here, pointing to the $800 one, 这本书贵, meaning the other one is not so expensive. Where if you said 这本书很贵, you're not comparing anything at all. So that's Chinese adjectives. Then the third sort of verb, action verbs. It doesn't have to say much about action verbs. The good thing is there's no irregular verbs in Chinese, not like English, I am you are, he is. And so what we're now going to do is to look at this sentence, 你明天在北京要跟他买那3本很贵的书吗? And we're going to look at the parts of speech. So let's start off at the beginning, the subject. And when we talk about the subject, we need to think about the subject as against topic. Comparing the general tendencies, it holds true that English is more of a subject language, where Chinese is more of a topic language. To simplify the matter, in English, the subject is the subject of a verb, whereas the topic is the subject matter of the sentence. And so, whereas in English, the initial word is normally a noun or a pronoun, in Chinese, the initial word can be the subject, can be the object, it can be a place word, it can be a time word, it can be an adjective, it can be an action verb. And so in Chinese, when you wish to focus on a particular word, that word is often brought to the front of the sentence into the topic position. So to give you a few examples, let's put up this sentence. To give you a few examples, 美国你去过吗? See, 美国你去过吗? 美国, the place word is brought to the front to focus on it. Another, 重要的要先办. 重要的要先办. The important ones you need to handle first. An adjective brought to the front of the sentence. Or take this one, 香蕉、苹果、橘子，他都卖。香蕉、苹果、橘子，他都卖。Apples, oranges, and bananas, he sells them all. In that sentence, the object is brought right to the front. Now, interestingly enough, in Chinese, you can have a sentence which has no subject. What's at the front of the sentence is actually just the topic. Let's take this sentence.